Jamie, holding Lord John captive to avoid the soldiers, tells him they need to get out of the city to be safe, as patrols don't go far into the countryside. John asks what Jamie did to get the soldiers after him, and Jamie admits they stopped him for a search. Though his papers were fine, he had something on him he didn't want them to find. That's why he ended up at John's house. He needed to assure Claire he was alive after hearing the Euterpe had sunk, which would have made her think he was dead. They head out on horseback, and Jamie thanks John for looking after Claire. He's also deeply sorry that William had to learn their secret and vows to find him and explain everything. Then John drops a bombshell. He slept with Claire. Jamie, stunned, presses him for an explanation. John, defensive, says they both thought Jamie was dead, and grief combined with too much to drink led to that night. He insists neither of them was really thinking of each other. They were both thinking of Jamie. Jamie, furious but realizing John is telling the truth, punches him in the face. Meanwhile, William struggles with the revelation that Jamie is his biological father. Claire reassures him their relationship hasn't changed, even calling herself his stepmother. When William accuses his mother of deception or recklessness, Claire defends Jamie, insisting he would never deceive another man in marriage. William learns Lord John and others kept this secret for his benefit, but he feels his whole life has been a lie. He storms out in anger, smashing furniture in his wake. Back in the woods, Jamie beats John repeatedly, demanding details of what happened between him and Claire. Before things escalate further, Corporal Jethro Woodbine and his men arrive. One of them recognizes John from his time as a soldier. Jamie insists John isn't a soldier anymore and claims he is holding him as a prisoner over a personal matter. However, Woodbine decides to take John back to camp for questioning. As Woodbine's men search John, they find a document suggesting he might be connected to General Charles Grey. Despite John's protest that he hasn't accepted any commission, Woodbine decides to hang him as a traitor, rallying his men with cries of "Remember Pauli." John is baffled by the reference but remains defiant. Jamie heads to see Colonel Morgan with a letter in hand explaining it's something important for the Army's high command from allies in France. Morgan takes Jamie to meet General George Washington. Jamie recognizes Washington and mentions they'd met once before at the theater in Wilmington when Jamie was a guest of Governor Tryon. Morgan fills Washington in, saying Jamie recently returned from Scotland and brought some correspondence. Jamie adds that he'd been to France and thought Washington would appreciate hearing about the generous support they're sending to the cause. Washington, impressed, asks if Jamie did this on his own, and Jamie confirms he did. Washington shifts gears, telling Jamie about Clinton's plans to withdraw from Philadelphia. He compliments Jamie for using his connections to turn a loyalist favor into something valuable for their side. Morgan also praises Jamie's bravery at Saratoga, and Washington offers Jamie command of a battalion. Jamie is honored and accepts. Washington officially appoints him brigadier general, though he warns that Congress will have to approve it, and their decisions can be unpredictable. Meanwhile, Rachel and Ian run into William, who looks exhausted. William explains he's helping evacuate loyalist civilians from the city. During their chat, Rachel shares that she and Ian got married. William is shocked by the news and punches Ian but quickly apologizes. Rachel, confused, asks if she's done something wrong, but William assures her she hasn't and says she never could. However, he turns on Ian, accusing him of lying and calling him cousin. This surprises Ian, who realizes William knows Jamie is his father. Ian tries to reassure him, saying it's no disgrace, but William is furious. He calls himself the illegitimate son of a Scottish criminal and a bastard. Ian stands up for Jamie, saying any man would be proud to be his son. Rachel chimes in that she is not surprised. When she looks closely, she can see the resemblance between William and Jamie. Things escalate quickly when William and Ian start fighting, throwing punches until soldiers intervene. William orders Ian arrested for assaulting an officer. Rachel, furious, calls William a coward and threatens to undo it. Rachel shocks him by slapping him. She accuses him of making her betray her principles. William responds by kissing her, but Rachel spits and walks away. Meanwhile, Lord John meets Colonel Smith and assumes he is about to be hanged because he is related to General Charles Grey, who apparently ordered a brutal attack at Pauli. Smith fills John in. Grey's troops had snuck up on General Wayne's camp, removed the flints from their guns, and used bayonets to kill over 100 men while they slept. The locals call it the Pauli Massacre. Smith accuses John of being a spy, but John brushes it off, saying he doesn't have any secret papers or evidence of espionage. When Smith pushes, suggesting John might be involved in treason or exchanging information with Jamie Fraser, John insists the meeting was purely personal. Smith warns that General Wayne might still hang him, using Pauli as an excuse. John argues that his execution wouldn't benefit anyone and offers his cooperation instead. He hints at his brother's influence in Parliament. Smith agrees to pass the suggestion along to General Washington and moves John to the medical tent. Elsewhere, Jamie learns from Rachel that British soldiers have taken Ian after a fight with William. Jamie tracks William down and confronts him, telling him to get Ian released immediately. If he doesn't, Jamie threatens to reveal who William really is and why they fought. William reluctantly agrees to free Ian, but complains that he is expected back in Philadelphia that night. Jamie doesn't care. It has to be after Ian is safe. Ian is eventually released and reunites with Rachel. At the British camp, William spends the evening at a brothel with other soldiers. He chooses to spend the night with Arabella, but his superior, Captain Harkness, claims her first. William eventually gets her alone, apologizing for hurting her last time and promising to pay for wine and a gown. He assures her he won't touch her unless she's comfortable. They share their real names. Arabella reveals hers is Jane, and things become more intimate between them. Back at the medical tent, Denzel is treating John's wounds and makes him an eye patch. He's surprised to learn Claire and John aren't married anymore and that Jamie Fraser is alive. When Smith asks if John can be moved, Denzel warns it would be dangerous. Smith shrugs and says if John can't go to General Wayne, then Wayne will come to him. He orders Denzel to keep John coherent for Wayne's arrival. Later, Denzel secretly gives John a weapon while offering him stew. He warns that Smith is planning to have him hanged. Denzel insists John leave that night and hide in his wagon, which he'll take for supplies the next day. John refuses to put Denzel at risk, saying he'll escape on foot instead. Jamie confronts Claire, and though she hugs him, he's distant. He tells her he knows she slept with John Gray because John admitted it, and even asks Jamie to kill him over it. Jamie can't understand why John would lie about something like that. Claire doesn't deny it and tries to explain, but Jamie storms off to the bedroom where it happened. Claire follows and, trying to set the record straight, tells him it wasn't some romantic decision. They were both drunk, miserable, and broken. She describes how she was on the verge of doing something drastic, debating between more brandy or a bottle of laudanum. When John showed up, equally shattered, he told her he wouldn't mourn alone that night, and she couldn't bear for either of them to be alone. It was impulsive, desperate, and driven by sheer emotional exhaustion. Jamie, furious, asks if John had violated her. Claire, insulted, calls him a bastard and storms out. Downstairs, she asks if Jamie killed John, and he admits he wanted to but didn't. He claims it would have been within his rights. Claire snaps back that Jamie didn't have any rights because, as far as everyone knew, he was dead. Jamie softens, confessing his enduring love for Claire. No matter what he says, nothing can stop him from loving her, not even if she'd slept with the entire British army, though he admits that would push his limits. But when he offhandedly blames her actions on being drunk, Claire slaps him. Jamie tries to explain, saying he didn't mean she was a drunkard, just that she is someone who feels and acts with her whole body. He reflects on his own mistakes after Culloden, like his night with Mary McNabb, and points out Claire never judged him or demanded details. Jamie admits that he is jealous and can't help it. He shares how his moment with Mary was tender and sad, two people mourning what they'd lost. Claire, in contrast, says her night with John wasn't tender or sad. It was just a blur. She hit John while imagining she was hitting Jamie, numb and unable to process anything. What John gave her was something she can't yet define, but she knows it involved violence and raw emotion. He made her feel again. She compares it to triage, stopping the emotional bleeding to survive. Despite the tension, Claire asks if John is okay. Jamie admits he hit John a lot but didn't kill him. He reflects on how John had been there for him through some of the hardest moments in his life, like losing Geneva and William. John had patched him up emotionally, and Jamie in the end couldn't take his life. Claire is relieved, and Jamie assures her that while this isn't over, and he'll have plenty to say about it later, nothing will ever take them apart. The two reconcile and grow close again. Meanwhile, Lord John uses the knife Denzel gave him to cut himself free. Colonel Smith realizes John has escaped and raises the alarm. Soldiers chase John into the woods, shooting at him as he flees. The episode ends with John on the run.